Hello and welcome back to TBH3. I'm Walter, and today we're going to work on our next part of the felted freeform crochet bag. As you can see, I have already gone ahead and crocheted some flower decorations for our bag. I did have enough yarn left to make this large flower, a medium-sized flower, and a couple of small flowers, and a tiny little bud. And then if you remember, this one I had already crocheted and felted. This was my test piece with this yarn to see how much it felted. I do apologize for the sun streaming through the window. It is 7:45 in the morning while I'm filming this, and I didn't realize how sunny this location was. I think it kind of gives it a cool effect the way the light is, striking across the yarn. So I did use up all of this color yarn to make these flowers. However, I am going to go through and make a large flower, and we're going to make leaves and stems, and that's going to be done in bare yarn, which we will be dyeing after. I did take the change purse and I have it soaking in 5 cups of water. Into that I added 2 teaspoons of citric acid, because the dye method that we're using is an hot acid dye method. So what essentially that means is you typically use hot water, then you add your dye and an acid such as citric acid or white vinegar, and then between the heat and the white vinegar, that's what really causes the dye to adhere to the fiber. However, in this case, I will be using the microwave as opposed to a pot of hot water. So I'm going to use syringes, and that way I can kind of duplicate this mottled effect, I hope. And then we'll wrap it in saran wrap and put that in the microwave. So then we will microwave it probably for about 4 minutes in 1-minute increments. You don't want your yarn to burn. Then we let it set, rinse it out, and we'll have the final product. So with that said, let's get started. So this is wool of the Andes. It's 100% wool. It's a bare yarn. It came from Knit Picks. So this felt very nicely. That's what the change purse was done in. So to start, we're going to do a magic circle. Chain 3, single crochet into the magic circle, chain 3 into the magic circle, chain 3, single crochet into the magic circle. And we're going to do it so we have a total of 5 chain 3 spaces. So this is 4 and 5. So for the last one, you want to slip stitch into your first single crochet or the base of the chain, your first chain 3. Then you want to pull your loop tight so the center of your circle is tight, so it looks like this. So single crochet into the first chain 3 loop, chain 2, do 3 double crochets, chain 2, and that's your first petal of the flower. So then we single crochet into the next chain 3 space, chain 2, single crochet, and then just repeat that for the remaining 3 loops. Now because we're felting this, I'm not really concerned about tying the center tight, because the very act of felting is going to firm up all of these stitches. But typically when you do a magic circle or magic ring, you would want to anchor this in so that your center doesn't open. I've chained 4, and then you want to go around the single crochet that was in the circle, and then chain 4, and then this is the loop for our next row of petals. And I'm just going to complete this group, and then this flower is done, and I'm going to move on to doing the stem for the bag. I just have a lot I want to cover today, and I don't want this to be a 5-hour video. So after I do this, we will do the stem, the leaves, we'll felt, we'll dye, and then we'll let everything dry, and then when we come back next time, we'll be assembling everything. Because of the current state of affairs, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to purchase handles in time for the next video, and I don't want to hold up the video because of handles and not to finish it, because that's just something, you know, I can make a quick video when I do get handles on how you attach those. That's our next petal for our next round. And then your flower, this large flower here, I did 3 rows of petals. You can just keep adding and adding and adding, and you can end up with a 14-inch diameter flower if you want it. I just stopped at these size because to kind of mirror the size of the bag. So it's single crochet into the next chain 4 loop, chain 2, and then 4 double crochet. And that is the last petal. So typically I would weave in the end, but again, because this is going to be felted, I'm just going to do a quick little tiny knot there, and then when it gets felted, it'll be firm and it's not going to be going anywhere. So that is our medium-sized flower. So now we're going to do the vine for the bag. So I had debated whether I wanted to do an I-cord or if I just want to use roving and kind of dry felt it on there. I'm not going to do an I-cord because it's a lot of work to do an I-cord, and when you felt it, it doesn't look like an I-cord anymore. So to me it just loses that detail and that beauty that an I-cord has. I'm just going to do a long chain. Because it's being felted, that's all I'm doing. So it'll get a little poofier, because I don't know if you've noticed that when we felt stuff, the thickness changes. So this is just an experiment. So I think just doing a chain like this in the length that I think I'm going to need will be enough, because when I felt it, it's going to shrink, but it also expands, which is kind of a paradox. So we'll see what happens. And I might find out that I'll be back to crochet an I-cord. And then the other thing is I'm going to make it longer than I think I need. That way, as I'm putting the bag together, I can kind of experiment and do different things. In addition to that, because it is being felted, you can cut it like you would normally regular fabric and it won't unravel. So by just doing one big long cord, I'm able to then cut it and utilize it as I would want with any other cord and not have to be concerned about it fraying. This looks a little excessively long when we look at this and we think about the bag. Throw this down real quick. So it's about 40 inches long. I anticipate it'll probably be closer to 25 to 30 inches along after it's felted. And just throw in a couple more. And again, I think, this will allow us to really be able to, when, we look at the bag, and I'm thinking that we're going to put, a flower here, and maybe a flower here, and a flower here, that I'll be able to, do some interesting, like maybe some swirls with the vine. So I think it'll be just a nice addition to the bag. And then just remember, because this is being felted, you kind of just want to make sure that we're going a little bigger than you typically would, just to ensure that when it's felted, it's not so small that you don't see it or it loses its. So we're gonna double crochet in the third chain from the hook. 1, 2, 3. Insert your hook, pull up a loop. Yarn over, draw through the first 2 loops, yarn over, draw through the second 2 loops. And then we're going to do another double crochet. And we'll do another double crochet. So we're just kind of making this up as I go along. Okay, so we're going to take that out. So we did 1 double crochet in the third chain from the hook. So we have 1, 2, 3. Then we'll do, so we did a double crochet in the third chain from hook, 1 double crochet. We're going to do 3 half double crochets. Then we're going to do a single crochet in the next 3. And then working down the other side of the chain, we'll do a single crochet. We'll just mirror what we just did. So 1, 2, 3 single crochets, 3 half double crochets, and 3 double crochets. So we could do this, but I think what I want to do is round this end here. So in this same spot as the last double crochet that we just made, I'm going to do, I think, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to start with 3, but I might do 5 additional double crochets so that it gives the bottom of the leaf a nice rounded look. And actually that's 3, so I'm going to do 4. And 5. Because I want it to stay flat. Join with a slip stitch. And then there's the base of our leaf. So now I'm just going to chain 2, half double crochet in the same stitch, half double crochet in the next stitch, half double crochet in the next. So essentially the first 3 stitches are half doubles, and then I'm going to do single crochet in the next 3, slip stitch in the next 3, and then it'll be half double crochet. So we had the original 3 that we did to finish up the second side, and then we did 5 double crochets. So we're going to do 1, 2, and then in the center double crochet of that 5 double crochet group we did, we'll do 3, and then a half double crochet in the last 2, and join with a slip stitch to the top of the first half double crochet, skipping the chain 2. And so that's our leaf. Now I'm going to do probably 5, a total of 5, so I'm going to make 4 more. So we'll be back when I get those completed, and then after I come back and we have the 4 leaves, and I'm going to do different sizes. So this will be the large leaf, and the smaller leaf will be just that first part we did. That way we have different options when we're putting this together. So then when we come back, we'll be felting everything, and I'm going to start felting the bare yarn first, because when we dye the yarn, it needs to soak in the acid water, which is citric acid in water. And then that way when we add the dye actually adheres to the yarn. But so when we come back, we'll start felting, and I'm just going to be felting the white yarn or the bare yarn first. Okay, so I will see you soon. Welcome back. So I have finished the leaves. I made a few more than 5. I made 3 of the larger ones and 5 of the smaller ones. And now we're going to do felting. I'm starting with, I have a bowl here of hot water and with a little soap in it. And just kind of toss everything in. And the hot water and the soap will start breaking down the fibers. I am going to dye these. The color adheres to it, and I really want them to soak in the acid water for a bit. So I have soapy water, hot water here. I have the piece that's now saturated, as you can see. And then this is just a little hand soap that I have that I'm going to add to this. And then you just kind of rub it in your palm in a circular motion, and you'll get all sudsy, and then you stick it back in, and you can see that it is already starting to felt. I like to go through, kind of straighten out the pieces, and then felt it some more. And you can just kind of feel it as you're twirling it and agitating it. In your hand, you can feel the piece felting up. And then there you can see it, the fibers are all breaking down. And then that's what you do, and you do that for each piece. I don't know that I'm going to do each piece for you. I'm going to do this flower, I'm going to do one of the leaves, and then see when I took it out of my hand, it's just like this little tiny ball. So I like to open it up and then just be careful of the strings that I should have trimmed, which I will do right now. Because you don't want them to become incorporated into the fabric itself. And this piece is almost done. And you just keep felting it, and the goal is to do it until you can't see the individual stitches any longer. Unless you want that look. Again, this is freeform crochet, so it's really no hard and fast rules. And that looks pretty good right there. And then just kind of separating it because it's kind of felting this top layer to the bottom layer, and that I don't want. And then that's our first felted piece. So I'm going to do a leaf, and then we'll come back for the dyeing part next. So now I'm just going to do the leaf. I cut off the tails. Again, the felting process is going to melt all the fabric together, so you don't have to spend a ton of time weaving in your loose end. And then this is the large leaf. which is almost done. Gonna add a little soap. And the soap helps break down the oils that are on the fibers, which then helps to, and then the hot water helps also to further break down the fibers. And then the agitation also, you know, really is the part that helps to turn it from a crocheted piece into a piece of fabric cloth. And again, when you're doing this, you're going to be able to feel like, oh, okay, that feels pretty good. And then there's the felted leaf. Let me get some of this stuff off. Okay, so I'm going to go and felt the rest of this. And then when I come back, we're going to start the dyeing process. See you soon. Okay, welcome back. So I have felted everything. I have put gloves on. I have a cookie sheet that I have lined with plastic wrap to protect my work surface. Here are the leaves, the cord, and the flowers that were felted that are the bare yarn. And then here is the colored yarn that is felted. Everything's felted. The dyes I'm using is Jacquard acid dyes. This is cherry red. I labeled the top 617, so I took 1/4 teaspoon of the dry powder and I put it in just regular tap water, and then I mix it to dissolve. I use warm water, it helps to dissolve a little better. I do wear gloves and a mask when I'm working with the dyes just because it's a chemical. And then you don't want to be breathing in the dye dust, and it is super fine. And I don't like my fingers and hands to get colored, so I do use that. And then the 4 colors that I mixed up today are cherry red, deep orange, which is number 606, spruce green 630, and sun yellow 601. And there's a plethora of places that you can get the dyes because I enjoy supporting local yarn shops. I do get my dye from CC's Wool and Fiber Shop. I'll link their store to the bottom. She has a nice selection. I did actually ask for some colors that she doesn't have, and she said she's going to order them to restock the dyes in the shop. And I believe they are three colors for $12, which is a really good price in my opinion. So I currently only have 3 syringes. I have more on order. So I'm gonna dye with the orange, the red, and the yellow first on the flowers and the change purse, and then I'll be using yellow and the spruce green to do the leaves and the vine or stems. So with that said, let's get started. So I'm going to use the syringes and color it here. We'll wrap the plastic wrap up, and then we'll do it in the microwave, and then the heat in the microwave will set the color into the product. So then you essentially just kind of, start layering your dye. And as you can see here, it is like bleeding through. So a lot of what we're doing when we're dyeing, and another reason to have the gloves, is to kind of squish the color through. And then add some yellow. And this is just really, really random. There's like no rhyme or reason. So I'm gonna add some yellow here. And some of it dripped onto the table or onto the mat. That's why we have the plastic. Add some of this. And just kind of push it through the product. And then as you see, it's going through. And I'm just kind of working it through. And then we have like the red, the orange, the yellow. I will soak up, this yellow from the bottom. Kind of get that on there to help get it through. Gonna turn it. And really, it's just what you want to do as far as colors go. There's no rhyme or reason. And I'm just kind of trying to replicate the random mix of colors that is in the original yarn. And as you can see, this one piece has taken up most of the dye that we had put in the syringes. So now I'm just going to squeeze this through, kind of really work that color in, get it to blend. And then I'm going to overlap this bit here, and I'm going to squeeze it through, and then that brought some of that color there. Then I'm going to roll it up, and just kind of, I'm going to squeeze, and then I'm squeezing on top of the other yarn. So I'm not sure at what point the card had stopped working because it was full, so I had to switch cards. So there were some that information that I was talking about that wasn't added. So essentially all I've done is added the colors to the change purse and the flowers. Now I'm putting green. I rinsed the syringe out, so now we have green, and I'm gonna add, I believe, some yellow as well, just so it has a bit of a gradient look to the leaves. And as we know, yellow and blue make green, and red and yellow make orange. I have to say that I'm really loving the way this center flower piece looks, and this flower looks with that orange and yellow, and kind of reminds me of a sunset or sunrise or fire. All of those things. Okay, so as you can see here, I did get some orange on here. It's okay. So when I think about a leaf, you know, I think about the center being usually darker than the edges. So I'm just gonna put some green there, and then I'm gonna go back through and add some yellow on the edge and kind of see what that does. And I just am letting it soak in. Now I'm going to go back through and do a little yellow. And then just like before, we will be adding the, or I'll be squeezing it to really get the colors to blend. So I'm only going to do this one because I kind of want to see how much that green bleeds out. And then I'm going to squeeze it over the top of the others. And then you can see like it's darker green in the middle and lighter green on the outside, and that's exactly what I was looking for. So now I'm going to just go back through and then add the yellow to the outsides of all of these. And as you can see, it really doesn't take a lot of dye to get, you know, your desired result. So now what I'm going to do, because I'm going to squeeze to really work the color through each of the individual leaves, I'm going to put some yellows in the middle, kind of add some depth of color at the, you know, for the final piece. So what I'm going to do now for the vine, go back, add a little more yellow there. Then I'm going to go back and add some more green. It's just completely random. So what I'm going to do now is, as I work the colors through, I'm going to ball up the vine. And I'm going to work the colors. I'm going to squeeze and manipulate. And then I can squeeze it over the top of the vine so that the color is dripping onto the vine to color that. And then it should do different shades and give it, you know, an interesting look to go with the rest of the bag. I'm not sure if I'll be using the flowers on the bag, or I just, you know, really wanted to do an example of how you can hand dye as well as hand felt your products to kind of get what you're looking for. in there. And then kind of mop up all this color here and squeeze that out. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap these individually into plastic wrap, and each piece will be microwaved for 4 minutes. I'll have to let them cool to room temperature. Then I'll rinse them, and then when they're ready to finish their drying process, I'll be back and I'll show you how everything finished up. So again, it's 4 minutes in the microwave in 1 minute increments. You just want to ensure that your product is not, your pieces aren't burning in the microwave, which is possible to do. So as it stands right now, I'm really pleased with the way that this has colored up, and I'm excited to see what it looks like when it comes out of the microwave after it has cooled and been rinsed, because you certainly want to rinse any loose dye from this as you move forward. Okay, so we'll see you soon. Hello and welcome back. So here we have the pieces that have been felted. These were felted and dyed. And then the flowers. So this really concludes this week's video. So as you can see, this doesn't have that same level of depth of color that this does. It is still wet, so it'll be interesting to see how it is when it dries, if it darkens at all. I did put these in the microwave, steam set the color, rinse them, and when I rinsed them, no color came out. So that means the color really had absorbed and set into the fabric. Even though it is considerably lighter than this piece, I think it's still within the same family of kind of molded looking pieces. So I'm still gonna go with it. It is just a change purse that goes inside. I'm loving this flower in particular. I love that it has this like bright yellow edge and then this nice orange looking color. The red really melded with the yellow in this. This you can really see where the red and the orange are, and then the yellow. But in the flower itself, it kind of all blended together, and I like that. So dyeing yarn for me is a relatively new experience. So I think had I had more experience, and the lesson I learned from this particular experience is that the dye that was in here, I should not have squeezed over the top of the flowers, that I should have used a yarn mop and dealt with the excess dye that way, as opposed to using it to attempt to dye this. This is the other flower that I made previously, and this is the center for the flower. Actually, this is a bullion stitch motif, and I just wanted to see what it looked like when it felted up, and it doesn't look like a bullion stitch anymore. So when I made this flower, I thought it makes a perfect center for this. And I like the way that looks and how this is like yellow, and some of the yellows are picked up around here. I won't be using this on this particular bag, and I won't be using this flower either. However, they are just nice little pieces to have around. I certainly can, stick a couple of leaves on this piece here, sew it to a barrette, and it would be a cute little hair piece, or stick it on a headband, or save it for another bag or a basket. So it is certainly versatile in its ability to be used on other projects. And it's always nice just to have little things lying around for those last minute gifts that you sometimes need to produce. So then we get to the greens. So I really like the way the green came out, how it has different shades of green in here, and that you don't actually see the yellow. So I really appreciate this. I apologize for the sound in the background. My next door neighbor had some kind of sewage problem, and National Grid is over there digging up the yard. Yesterday was much worse. They were using some machine that actually was pounding the ground so much my house was shaking. So these are the leaves, the small leaves, the big leaves. And here is the vine or stem. This I didn't felt as heavily as I felted the other pieces. because you can still see that little bit of texture in there. And that was done intentionally. I wanted it to look like it grew in segments like some plants do. So yeah, so that concludes the video for this week. So what we'll do now is I have to wait for all of this to dry, and then once it's dry, I will assemble the bag. So next week we will work on lining the bag, adding the handles, which I was able to order from Joann's and we'll be able to pick up sometime today. So we'll have the handles, lining the bag, adding the zipper, and sewing on our decorations on the outside, and finishing the change purse. I may add, as I say here looking at this, I really like, you know, this little flower on the outside of the change purse. So after I add the hardware on the top of the change purse, I may add this flower because I think it looks cute and kind of goes with the rest of the bag, and it gives it a little bit of difference. So that's it. So if you have any questions, please leave those below. As I said earlier, I will put a link in for Cece's Woolen Fiber Shop if anybody's interested in getting dyes. She also has a ton of yarn. Everything is available to be ordered, and she will ship it. And she is really prompt in getting orders out. Just yesterday, I live close enough that I could drive over, and she has a little vestibule, so she puts it in the vestibule, and then I go and pick it up. So you keep your 6 foot of social distancing. So again, if you have any questions, please put those in the bottom. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. If there's anybody that you're aware of who would be interested in learning how to do a felted freeform crochet bag and purse, or purse and bag and change purse, please share this with them. And that's it for today. And remember, always keep hooking, never stop.